The Spectrum Retreat is not a horror game. At least online game stores like Steam or Xbox won't label it as such. It's just an adventure game about solving color-coded puzzles inside a hotel run by robots. Of course, a woman on the other end of your phone line tells you this place is bad, that you have to escape. But it's not a horror game. Maybe a robot will suddenly appear around the corner while you're snooping where you shouldn't be, giving you a jump scare. But it's not a horror game. Still, there are parts of the Spectrum Retreat that are intentionally ominous and unnerving. The game never tries to truly frighten you, but it does want you to feel tense. Maybe it's not a horror game, but at times it's certainly an uneasy game. There are tactile ways this is achieved. The robots occasionally glitch and speak unnaturally. The environment changes in strange ways, chairs resting on the walls, elevator doors opening abnormally, things existing where they shouldn't. The music distorts ever so slightly that the change is almost unnoticeable, but still gnaws at the back of your mind. One level forces you to listen to the sound of crying the entire time you are finishing it. It's startling and unsettling. It's hard to feel cheerful while playing after a certain point, though that's not to say the game isn't still enjoyable. I found it quite fun and intriguing despite all this. But those tactile spooks are nothing special, right? There are plenty of games that use such tactics to make you feel uncomfortable. So let's instead talk about the more unique way that the Spectrum Retreat makes you feel uneasy. Mentally. It's the things it inspires you to think for yourself. Not just general physical fears we all have, but psychological types of fear. And there are a few fears you could name that the Spectrum Retreat plays with in your mind. Like the fear of being controlled, and that loss of free will. The fear of not knowing, and consequently the fear of believing you're something you're not. Let me walk you through the ways I think this little puzzle game achieves the surprising effect of deep fear, and I'll do it while avoiding all major spoilers for you. The game's location, the first thing we are introduced to, is an excellent way we are started on this path of fear and discomfort. Not just because we don't know who we are or why we're there at the Penrose Hotel, but because there's something kind of fascinating about hotels as a location in general. I confess, I don't go to hotels very often, but in my admittedly limited experience, they always feel strangely empty. I know there must be plenty of people here, but I rarely see anyone. Even last December, I stayed at a hotel that had every room occupied, and I still barely saw anyone, maybe no one outside of the lobby. So when you first leave your hotel room in this game, you see plenty of closed doors, but still likely assume that other people are around somewhere. But there's no one but the robotic staff down in the lobby, and you soon learn that you are, in fact, the only guest in this entire large hotel. You begin to feel very alone in that way. There is no one else like you. You're a human alone in a large, relatively empty building with robots you're unsure you can trust, who lurk around every unexpected corner. You can't leave to escape this feeling of frightening loneliness. And it doesn't help that you feel very controlled there at the hotel. Now, I think most humans enjoy routine to a degree. It's nice to know what to expect each day. But those are often routines that we set for ourselves, not something we are forced into by other people. In the Spectrum Retreat, routine is forced. You're told that things rely on you doing the same thing each day. Answering the knock at your door, going downstairs, eating the same breakfast. And while that feels fine for the first few days, eventually it feels annoying. You'd rather get back to the puzzles at the start of the day than have to walk all the way downstairs just to eat first, right? And as things start changing around you, the routine almost feels threatening. You'll wish you could hide from it. But no, you have to go into the restaurant no matter how much you don't want to. There's nothing else you can do. The player can only obey what they are told. And perhaps that's what makes the puzzle sections feel so refreshing. You're finally free to go about things in whatever way you want, with no voice in your ear ordering you around. All of that aloneness and lack of control in the hotel are probably the smallest elements that introduce an ominous sense of fear to the player. I think the larger way that the game toys with you psychologically is by withholding important information and then finally revealing it to you at the moment it will impact you the most. Like I said before, you don't know where exactly you are, or even anything as simple as your name at the beginning of the game. Your character remembers nothing of his past, and gradually remembers pieces of his memory as you go through the story and puzzles. Few things are told to you directly, as the game instead prefers to offer you more vague knowledge, so that you can guess what you don't know. The picture frames on the hotel walls are blank until they start filling in with fuzzy images of your memories. Moments with family, faces that should feel familiar but don't, because you can't even be certain what you're looking at. Is that woman my wife? Is that man me? Or is it someone else? What if it's someone I hate when I first assumed it was myself? What does that mean for me? Why is it suddenly so frustrating that I don't even know what I look like? Again, you feel more helpless. Not just to be confined to a strange hotel, but to your own limited memories. And I don't think I've ever played a game so beautifully frustrating like that. Frustration is rarely beautiful in media, I believe, but here it is, because once your frustration is finally satiated, it's like nothing you expected. Like I said, you learn bits and pieces as you go, but you don't get the full story until the end. Until then, you have to guess a lot of things for yourself. It feels completely natural to do so. And when the game then shows you were wrong about all those assumptions, your entire perception of everything shifts in a shocking and almost painful way. It introduces the fear of not knowing yourself. No one wants to think they're something they're not, right? Because we get so frustrated when we see someone else who thinks they're so much better or so much worse than we perceive them. We obviously hope that we aren't like those people. So it feels uncomfortable to start guessing your character, Alex, might be one thing, just a father trying his best to help his family who ended up in a bad situation. But as you near the end, shocking revelations make your entire perspective of what you thought of as a normal character twist in an uncomfortable way. And this character is you, so the game feels like you're recovering from amnesia, only to learn that you're someone you never expected to be, someone you might have never wanted to be. And you ultimately have to decide for yourself if you're innocent or guilty, mistreated or receiving due punishment. All of this gray area adds to that twisting in your mind that makes the game freak you out a little bit. At that final point of decision, you've learned so much different from your initial assumptions that it's like an uncomfortable out-of-body experience. You might even start feeling more like the woman on the phone who's reacting with shock to everything going on than you feel like silent Alex. This whole mental aspect is just as unsettling, even more so than a robot appearing where he shouldn't be, or music twisting out of tune. That's where the true value in the Spectrum Retreat lies, besides entertaining puzzles, an unexpected mind puzzle with a new surprise around every corner that makes you rethink everything you've seen so far. The Spectrum Retreat isn't a horror game, but regardless, it does wonders to leave you uneasy in that same way. Not through just a couple of small jump scares, but through subverting your expectations, through carefully timing when certain information is released to you, through making things just slightly off kilter in a world of strict routine, through the power of just an empty hotel. And I think it's amazingly done, and a fascinating game to look at in this psychological way. Although obviously this is all just my own rough observations and thoughts that I experienced while playing the game. Other people might experience it far differently than I did, and I think that makes it even better. If you played the Spectrum Retreat, I would love if you commented to let me know if you thought it was unsettling, or if it inspired any fears in your mind. And if you haven't played it and enjoy puzzle games like Portal and stuff like that, you should give this one a try. I thought the puzzles were fun. And the atmosphere outside of that puzzles, with all that sense of foreboding, fear, and ominousness, was really cool. So thanks for listening to me talk about my thoughts here today. I hope you found it interesting in one way or another. If you want to watch more videos like this, here's a link to one. Here's also a different type of video of mine if you want to check that out. And if you want to see other videos in the future, subscribe, like the video. But most importantly, have a groovy day, you wonderful person you.